quick little college football wrap up here, basically. Just some thoughts, really just some random thoughts being put together, seriously. Number one, Vandy, Nebraska, those are two teams that are going to look back on this with two coaches that are going to have a lot of regret. There is no excuse, no justification. I don't give a damn what any coach or anybody tries to tell me. With 5 minutes to go in the game, you're still very much in it. You've got a couple of timeouts left. You got the 2 minute. Plus, in college football, after the first down, the damn play clock stops. And you're going for it on your own 30-yard line. You know, the whole thing about being a football coach is putting your players in the best position to win a game. It's really as simple as that. I understand that players still have to execute. That's a dumb call. And there's no other way to say it other than that is a bonehead call. Anybody who, and here's the thing, we're not just talking about that clearing one person. How many people had to agree to go for it? And then they all had to agree on the play call. What kind of, like, if you're going to do that, at least keep it simple. Because clearly Texas was in zone on that play. They're all looking in the backfield. I mean, you're going to have to do a play action and a rollout at that point just to try and get the eyes to truly move somewhere else. That was a ridiculous play call, a bonehead move, and Vanderbilt has nobody to blame but themselves for their piss-poor coaching in that football game. I'm just keeping it real. Matt Rule, same thing over in Nebraska. Look, it's fine. Okay, great. They got obliterated 1 week, and then the next week they almost win a football game. Well, almost doesn't cut it now, does it? We're not here to impress. We're not here to put up a good fight or have a close victory. You know, that's not what we're here to do. And what was it? Third down, Matt Rule doing all this window dressing with a freshman quarterback, all this just to run the football up the middle. That's just dumb. Keep it simple, strength on strength, man on man, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Run the football up the middle, and don't put your kids in a situation to where they can get a penalty like they did with the illegal motion. Because it's also predicated upon the fact that it's clearly a poor play design from a coach who doesn't understand the rules. It was terrible coaching. Nebraska, how many times did they have chances inside the red zone, especially after the interception? That was taken all the way back to what, the 5-yard line? You're right there on the goal line. What are you thinking? And I know somebody's going to say, well, Vanderbilt, their situation, the defense held up. They did, but now you're down by 10. So now you've got to get 2 scores to get back in that football game. I didn't have a problem with the decision for Nebraska to go for it on 4th and goal because even if you don't get it, you've got Ohio State pinned back, right? But as much as Ohio State turned the football over, Nebraska is going to be kicking themselves in the ass because they really should have won that game running away. And we might not be talking about Ohio State even having a chance in the playoffs now. The way that it went down with Oregon, Ryan Day getting outcoached, look, right now it's really difficult to say who the true number one is. It's probably Oregon, don't get me wrong. I mean, the rankings are going to come out, but I don't know if I would have the number one. Obviously, the resume works, right? But I just still think that Georgia is the best team in college football. I really do. And I think that because I know they lost to Alabama, but I still think that they have a superior coach in Kirby Smart. My thing is, and my impression and my argument will continue to be, sure, they were getting their asses whipped in that football game. Sure, they ended up losing it on what was just really great plays from Ryan Williams and some other guys, right? Just phenomenal plays. Ryan Williams had literally one of the greatest plays of all time that night, period. But Kirby Smart outcoached Kalen DeBoer. And down 21-0, get your head up, stay in it. We're okay. We got this. Don't worry about it. He made the necessary adjustments at halftime. Not to mention, didn't they get a field goal, if I remember correctly, to end the first half? So they were able to put some sort of drive together, put some sort of points together, and that was just enough for him to be able to leverage his guys into, we can do this. Do not give up. I'm just not sold on Dan Lanning. Now, he outcoached Ryan Day. I will admit that. It was a petty move, but it was a move that worked. They've already changed the rule because of it, so it is what it is. For me, though, I would still have Georgia as the number one team in college football. But I don't have a problem with Oregon being ranked number one either. And I know somebody out there is going to go, man, you're just jock riding the SEC. Man, you better go check out my archives, Brody. And let's keep it a buck. You know, my argument has never been whether or not the SEC is the superior conference. My argument has been how they got there and then created the sustainability. That is what my argument has been. And they are the superior conference, whether we like it or not. It's the way that it is. But I also think that we need to do away with the idea of the Power Four conference. And I also think that we need to do away with voting and top 25 polls and all that BS to begin with anyways in college football. If you're going to have a playoff, it needs to be a playoff. Because right now, the way that it is, it's an invitational. With the caveat being, if you are a Power Four conference champion, you are automatically in. That's it. That's the caveat. And it's BS, to be honest with you. It shouldn't be that way. And to me, we need 16 teams, not 12. I've been screaming for 16 teams for years. I've said, look, you either do one of two things. You either take your conference champions, they automatically get in, and then you've got your 6 bubble teams basically, or you just have a true playoff system, which is what I would be the bigger fan of, where you take the human element out of it. You create a system and a set of rules, and it leaves it open for the entire NCAA. Now, it's not going to happen because they want to keep their blue bloods blue. But that's the way that it should be. They want to keep all the money with the Big Ten. They want to keep all the money with the Big 12. They want to keep all the money with the SEC. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised the Big 12 hasn't dissolved. I'm keeping it a buck here. Why it's still considered a power conference really blows me away. That's part of the reason why we need to do away with the idea of a power conference, because let's be honest, Nebraska hasn't won diddly since Vince Young was the quarterback at Texas. Sure, they've been to some BCS championship games. They've been in the college football playoff, and they've competed for a championship, but they've got obliterated. Texas wasn't all that great last year in the CFP. Let's keep it a buck. Nobody's going to forget what Georgia did to TCU. 3 out of 4 times that OU's been there, they got smacked around in the college football playoff. Blew a pretty good lead against Georgia in the other game. It's never been to me about strength of conference. I mean, the ACC hasn't really been all that great, but Clemson was still a truly good football team, and they won championships. We need to have a true playoff system, because somebody from the Big 12 is going to make it to the CFP this year, and they're going to get annihilated. Speaking of which, your top 2 teams leave, and you're telling me that the Big 12 is still good when OU goes off to the SEC, and they are getting smacked the around. It was real comfortable in the Big 12, wasn't it? Being OU and getting those votes every single year and being allowed to be in that invitational. Because that's what it is. It's an invitational. We're inviting you. And OU was consistently given the benefit of the doubt. They got the benefit of the doubt during the BCS era, thanks to the combination of the voting and the computer system that they had. I mean, didn't they get jumped basically in an alley street fight by Kansas State? Didn't they get, what was that, 35-0 or whatever the score of that game was? And they still got to compete for a championship. and then people were surprised that they lost. I'm not saying that a one-loss football team is a bad team, but it just seemed like every year the Big 12 figured out new and creative ways to out themselves. Does anybody remember Kansas State being undefeated, and then a losing record Baylor team comes along and destroys them? Then they got meleeed in the second half of that bowl game that same season by Oregon. We need to do away with the idea that a conference is a power conference. It needs to go away. If you want to keep conferences, I don't have an issue with that. There's just too many teams in college football to not. But there's over 130. And you're going to tell me that we're going to basically regale it down to 4 conferences as being the premier? I don't buy that. I never have, and I never will. All it is a shield. It's just a title to keep the money flowing where you want it to go. That's all that it amounts to. You just need to have a true playoff system. If you want to keep ranking, sure, I guess, but the ranking system is predominantly looked at now from the AP poll. And what is the AP? It's the damn Associated Press. And people that are in the media have a tendency to be caught up in the moment instead of sitting back and looking and going, well, this is actually what it should be like. And I'm not really impressed. They can't figure it out. You know, and last season was such a mess with the CFP committee, jumping teams all around. They couldn't figure out who was number one. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They just were completely out of it. And it got to the point where if you followed closely, they were actually just mimicking the coaches poll. I personally think that the committee threw their hands up last season. I really do. And the fact that an undefeated football team got left out says everything. I don't want to hear about the Georgia game. Kirby Smart himself said at the end of that football game, people got to decide what they want. And he talked about what happened on that field. He knows exactly what happened. Florida State didn't show up on purpose. It was a middle finger to the committee. All the guys that were relevant to that football team, with the exception of obviously Travis because he got hurt, they all opted to go to the NFL and didn't bother to play in that bowl game. Georgia beat Florida State's practice squad. Good for them. Kirby Smart knows exactly what happened that day. And I get it from a fan's perspective. You don't want to see it that way, but it is what it is. What I am telling you is we need to stop making business decisions and we need to start making football decisions. Because I've had it up to here with, well, we're trying to create the best matchup. That's not up to you. And it shouldn't be up to anybody else. This is not MMA. Okay? Stop being Dana White and stop trying to create a situation where you think this team and that team is going to be the best possible matchup to keep your ratings up. Blowouts are going to happen whether anybody likes it or not. Ask any fight promoter, they'll tell you they're seeing it in their head. They think this is the right fight to make, and they visualize it going a particular way, and sometimes that just doesn't work. And it's boring. There's no entertainment value. And you are insulting the intelligence of the real fan is what you are really doing. We should be doing away with polls altogether. Man, I've been saying forever that we need to transition a lot of different things. We need to stop with the way that we're doing the playoffs in the NFL, AFC and NFC, all that. It's just a shield to make money. Conference versus conference in the NFL shouldn't be a thing. Just take the best 14 teams in the NFL, seed them out, and we'll see what happens. If you want to brag about what conference is best, sure, keep the conferences. Keep the shield, the moneymaker. But we'll really find out how good some of these teams really are when they got to play intersectionally, basically. Look, the point of what I'm saying is we need to do away with the current system the way that it is. The NCAA got it wrong. And all they did was just line the pockets of everybody else and assure that the money would stay where they want it to. That's all they did. They guaranteed their revenue. That was it. And the last, I guess, thought here for college football. Look, I love Prime. I've been a supporter of Prime. When he was at Jackson State, I absolutely had his back. Didn't understand where the hate was coming from. When he did what he did last season, the transfer portal and all that with Colorado, I completely understood it. But the Big 12, I just got done ridiculing them, and I stand by it. And to me, 8 or 9 wins is an accomplishment. It's a far and away cry from where they were. But I still would just say he's not coach of the year. What's going on in Indiana right now is coach of the year material, and that's all there is to it. I can't stand Dan Lanning, and I'd put him into that category right now before I would with Coach Prime. I would say Prime would be maybe like a 4th or 5th candidate, but to me, he's not for sure the coach of the year. I'm just saying. Now, the thing I talked about was at the beginning of this year with Colorado was if they win 10 games, then yes, that might be for it, right? And you could probably get a college football playoff bid out of that, to be honest with you. But they're not beating anybody of consequence. And you could call everybody haters all you want to. Now, I will accept the argument that they are right now winning games that they normally would not win. But the nucleus of that football team is Shedeur and Travis. And when one or the other is either not playing good or they're injured, that is not the same football team. Now, they've finally been getting it together with the run game. The defense is a little bit better, but not much. They still couldn't tackle most Pee Wee teams. I'm just being honest. Multiple things can be true. I love Prime. I think he really cares about his players. I really do. The lymphoma announcement, it was weird to me, the hate that was going on in the comment section. The kid is telling a story, and then Prime is giving feedback to that young man and trying to provide him with a little bit of hope. What the fuck is wrong with some of you people? Look, I can understand not liking somebody. That's one thing, but taking it to that level where now you're mad about this, that's just weird, bro. It's not weird to video that. It's 2024. Everybody videos everything on the internet. Everybody does. I'm not a fan of it. I think if you're going to do charity work, you should do it without cameras. But it is what it is. Stop acting like Prime is the only one doing stuff like this. That's the point that I'm making here. Like, I just don't think he would be coach of the year. And I think if Indiana continues the way that they're going, they're probably, to me, the 2nd or 3rd best team right now in college football. I mean, honestly, my top 3 would be Georgia, Indiana, and then Oregon. That's the way that it is. I know that somebody's going to go, man, Oregon's resume is so much better. We're not going to get into that. I want to finish this thought about Prime. What I'm saying is 8 or 9 wins is not coach of the year stuff. It's just not, especially in the Big 12 right now, the way that it is. And they haven't beat anybody of consequence. And in all the big important games, are constantly playing from behind, and they're having to come back all the time. And I get it. Second half adjustments, it's a thing. It's a great thing. Prime has proved to be good at it. But here's the thing, though. Even with the improvement of Colorado this season, do you really think he's going to be there after Travis and them go away? So what's happening right now with Colorado is they're probably being provided with false hope. Now, whether or not he's going to go to Florida State or coach at all, I don't know. But I think it's pretty obvious that he has coached Shiloh, Shedeur, and Travis to the NFL. I'm just keeping it a buck. Okay? And if that's what he wants to do, then, I mean, to hell with it, right? I mean, even if he did, the old Chappelle thing, the point of what I'm saying is I don't think he's going to be there next year. I think it's false hope. I would love to see what would happen if Prime continued after Shedeur, Travis, and Shiloh left. Then I would be like, okay, Let's see what happens. But again, the transfer portal thing from this season, I still don't agree with it. Last season, I did. This season, over 40 players again. Man, look, I don't know that you can win football games by doing that every single year. They are winning games. Bro, who are they beating? We have to be honest about this. Multiple things can be true at once. I know somebody's not going to give a damn and they're going to jump in my comment section, you fucking hater. I don't care, Brody. I really don't give a damn. I'm not a hater. I'm a huge supporter of Prime. I just want to see this thing through. If that was going to happen, I would be cool with it. But when he got interviewed by Klatt, he completely avoided the question about whether or not he was going to be there. And I understand not giving away your next move, but something just tells me that Prime has already got something up his sleeve. Whatever the next move is, I think he's already made the decision. I'm just keeping it a buck. And to finish my other thought, yes, I would definitely have Georgia 1, Indiana 2, and Oregon 3. I know that Oregon right now has the better resume. I know that Georgia has a loss to Alabama. But I think that the way that Indiana is winning football games, they are so dominant right now. With the way that Oregon had to beat Ohio State, who really struggled against Nebraska, you're not going to beat anybody else this season like that, especially Kirby Smart. That's just the way that it is. Now, the problem with Georgia is Carson Beck he's a turnover nightmare. They've really got to clean that aspect up, especially in the bigger games. But I still think he's the superior coach, and the superior coach, I think, will rise. I'm just saying. And I think Cignetti is probably the second best coach right now in all of college football. And somebody is going to throw a lot of fucking money at him. I'm telling you right now. Somebody... They're out there. They've got a check. Every man's got his price. You don't know what your price is until it gets offered. There's going to be a lot of money thrown at him. Look at what's going on at LSU. They just got beat down by A&M, right? So they're out of the college football playoff. Let's keep that a buck. What I'm saying is Brian Kelly, if he got $100 million and all this back-end stuff and all these bonuses and everything, imagine what he's going to get with what he's doing at Indiana. They had better start opening up the pocketbook right now. The Hoosiers, if they want to keep him, they already better have a deal prepared on the table. And they better have their ear to the streets because somebody's out there right now foaming. They are frothing. They are just sitting back like season's almost over, man. We're halfway through. Phone calls will be made very quickly. I promise you. All right. That's it. That's all I got. That's the show. I'm Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Obviously, I'm wherever you're listening to podcasts, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Deezer, YouTube, wherever you are, I am. You guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of your weekend.